Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025, and today I'm just going to call this video Deep Dive into World Building, but that's going to be I might call it something else, but that's the idea for this week. Is I want to deep dive into world building. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day, and I use timers to stay focused and build a habit. So I'll start a 10-minute timer. That's really about as far as I got for the idea for the video, which is to deep dive into world building, which I have a playlist called World Building. It's kind of a hodgepodge right now. And a lot of the world building I do is for writing these novels, the stories I have in mind. So I'm going to work on this page, and I'll link to this video that I did on the 11th, it says, of January, and I called it Intrinsic Art Motivation. I don't know that it was about world building per se. I think I just wanted to talk about sketching for like the sake of it, and just kind of sketching this out of imagination or from imagination. It doesn't have to be that correct or anything like that. So once I sketched this sort of from imagination, I just kind of left it. So yeah, I haven't done anything to it since last month. As I kind of get back into it and sketch, part of this is just to get the week started and get the deep dive going. I'm gonna kind of work in this section right here. Again, just kind of stay loose and get warmed up. And maybe during this process of doing this kind of thing, maybe it'll give you some ideas. And also I just kind of want to kind of share my ideas, and also world build, of course. So in the original video, from what I can remember, yeah, it was just from imagination, and I was pretty loose about it. I think that it's good to, I mean, in my opinion, like, it's been helpful to just kind of trust the process, as they say. I know it's kind of cliche, but I mean, it's true, especially if we're going to talk about art and then storytelling and stuff. I mean, a lot of it comes from the imagination and the subconscious. I personally, I've had to deal with perfectionism, which is, I think, a form of resistance. So I've talked about like dealing with resistance. That's really a big part of what my channel is about, actually, is sort of not about resistance, but how to work with it or overcome it, if you want to call it that. But yeah, like right now, I'm just gonna do this. So this is a mix of working with the sketch that I came up with from imagination. That's part of the resistance for me too, is this idea that I have to sit down and come up with some kind of finished illustration or artwork. I'm learning that I don't have to. So that's basically what this video will be, just to kind of get into the new week, but also the topic. And yeah, I'm like adjusting things, and I'm gonna be pretty sketchy right now, just kind of outline some things and see what happens. Give it a little bit more depth. It might give you some ideas. This is kind of partly from just sort of browsing around, but also what I already had. To have a methodology to do this, it does help. I mean, you could also just kind of do this, like what I did originally, and just keep making it up. Like, the thing with art is there's always a way to fix things, and then if it comes down to it, you can always start over. But I've found that if you have to, you could always paint over it. So I'm not going to stress myself out too much or at all, and just kind of just do what I can. I was making up these medieval buildings and I didn't totally know what they look like, and that's kind of why I want to do a deep dive so that I can get a better understanding of the look of it. Then I also learned that when I did the deep dives, so for the past couple of weeks, a couple of weeks ago, I started doing a deep dive for color. Then last week last week was about figure drawing, and so that was really helpful, and there's actually more, obviously. Even with after a deep dive, there's still a lot more detail, but that's a good thing. I mean, it keeps it interesting, but I feel like it definitely helped me to get a better idea. So yeah, like I was saying about world building, one, it would be nice to have just kind of sketches and illustrations. And this is kind of an experiment. I mean, I'm not 100% sure. I like the look of like the Sleeping Beauty concept art, so part of it, that's where this is kind of coming from. With sort of my style or my lack of knowledge, which is kind of sometimes what style actually is. I guess we'll make it look medieval by having a border. So it might give you some ideas for landscapes. I'm not an expert at landscapes, but I think they're fun. But I think one thing that I do like with like the direction of what I'm doing is just being more open to not trying to make it perfect and just like coming back to something. So yeah, sometimes I want to do videos kind of like this where it'll be centered around like the artwork, which, I mean, that's how I want the channel to be, but then also there's more than just talking about the technique, and it's also just about the kind of the practice and the work and the kind of the mindset and like the purpose of it. So yeah, this is a combination of imagination but also just some ideas, inspiration, and like somewhat of a study. Like this mountain range I'm not that happy with, so I'm gonna blend it. I'm gonna start to wrap it up. That's the other thing too, is like I'm learning how to not force pictures. To just kind of give it some time. Probably revisit this and keep working on it, and then I think more ideas will show up about world building. One of the ideas I have is that, well, this is concept art, but then it's also, which is good, I mean, if you're working on kind of a big project like I am, to have, and then, but it can also help to like write, just be inspiration for writing the scenes. And I guess the other thing would be, like, you don't have to generate images, you can just sketch it. Like, it's not like that hard. Like, this to me is more interesting. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off for today. I want to thank you for joining me for today's daily sketching routine. Hopefully you come back, and if you like these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.